So we were going to work on this Pfister faucet, change the cartridges out. These are Price Pfister 49E is the model number of the faucet. I wound up calling the Pfister 1-800 number. They have a lifetime guarantee on their cartridges. Called them and they had no problem sending me replacement cartridges. Those are no longer available. So they sent the current ones that they use. With that, they sent some instructions. And I guess depending on which cartridge you have, when you take it out, you can identify it. And then they'll tell you to either use the instructions that are here in step 1 or instructions on the back of the page, which are step 2. So when we take it out, we'll be able to see which cartridge we have and then swap them out. These are the cartridges or items they sent me. They sent me the hot water. This is the new model number for that one, 9100310. The cold, model number 9100320. They sent a couple of extra nuts if you need them, 9620430. We've got the hot water was leaking. I've already turned hot water off. The cold water is still on. I think we're going to go ahead and change the cartridge in both the hot and the cold. So we got to turn the water off. I've already turned the water off for the hot over here. We're going to turn the water off for the cold water. Just turn the valve to the right. Sometimes these get stuck and you got to work with them a little bit. And that's both the hot and the cold are turned off. So the first thing we're going to do is close this drain so nothing falls down it and gets lost. You've got to take the cap off right here. And if you look inside of there, there'll be a screw. It's a Phillips head screw. We'll get a Phillips head screwdriver and we'll take that out. And the handle will come off. And you can see the cartridge and there's a nut right here. We'll take that off. Take that off, set it aside. And you can get this out of your way, set it aside. There's actually a little square part right here. If you look close here on the other side, that's where I'm going to grab it with my channel locks. Be able to hold it. Then I should be able to pull the cartridge out. Should come out now. There's a little O-ring floating right here. Okay, so we've pulled the hot cartridge out of the faucet. You can look, there's a black O-ring on the bottom. Make sure that comes out and then there's nothing inside of the hole there. That doesn't stay in there. That needs to come out. I had to pry it out as you saw earlier. So we got the old cartridge with the old nut and the old O-ring there in stem. We're going to put that aside here. We have to do some disassembly on that. We're going to reuse this piece, this nut. We're not going to reuse or use the new nuts that they sent, which are normally used with these valves. We're going to have to disassemble the new one they sent. As you can see, they're a little different when you line them up together. There's no nut on here. There's a nut on here. The hole on this nut is actually bigger than the hole on the existing nut. So we're not going to use the new nut that they sent. We're going to follow the instructions that they gave us. Disassemble this one and reuse some of the parts and reassemble on this one. So there's a new washer that came with the new cartridge as well. So we're going to put that there and we'll show you how to disassemble this and put the cartridge together. The first thing you're going to do is, if you look at the instructions, the old instructions, the cartridges that we have currently are 9, 10, 024, and 025. So with the instructions that they give you, this is the cartridges we currently have, 24 and 25. It says go to step 2. So this is step 1 on the front. You go to the back of that and you go to step 2. It lays out the basic steps to take here in order to reassemble a new cartridge. So you're going to remove the old one, which we've done. We're going to take this piece apart here, disassemble the old cartridge by removing the nut and the washer that's underneath it. Okay, so what we're going to do is take the old cartridge. We're going to push and slide this nut off, and we're going to put this aside and reuse this nut. Make sure the O-ring is not on the inside of the nut. The O-ring is right here on the stem. So when you slide that off, make sure the old O-ring is here. If it gets stuck inside the nut, push it out, and then we'll put that aside to reuse it. On the new cartridge, we're going to do something similar. We're going to hold the white part. We're going to push the new cartridge out and pull it out. This white piece here we're not going to use, so set it aside as well. Then you're going to take this piece, the new cartridge, and we need to make sure there's an O-ring right here. If we look inside of this piece we said we would discard, the O-ring is still stuck in there. So we need to get that O-ring out and put it on the stem. So we're going to get something and push it out. And pull it out. Now that we have it, we'll take the stem we're going to use. We're going to put the O-ring on it. Just put it on there, push it all the way down. Then we're going to take the nut. We're also going to take this O-ring off of the nut. Slide it off. We're going to put it aside. There's a new O-ring that they gave us. We're going to slip that on the bottom of this nut. Push it all the way up. So we got the old nut with the new O-ring. We've got the new stem, making sure the O-ring is on here. We're going to push this nut and the shaft through there. And if you turn it a little bit, then it'll line up and it's on there. Now we have the new assembly with the old nut, new O-rings that we can use. There's also this was just put on there to indicate it was the hot valve versus the cold valve. You don't really need to use that. So we'll set that aside. So we won't use these old O-ring that was on the bottom of the nut, the old stem, the old O-ring, this new white piece we're not using, as well as that. So now we're ready to reassemble the faucet, put this back in the hole and tighten it up, and it should be good. So we've got our reassembled cartridge. We're ready to put it back in. We'll stick it back in here, and then we can tighten up the nut. I'm going to hand tighten it. Then we're going to get a wrench. I'm going to hold the bottom nut just to make sure it doesn't turn. And we're just going to tighten this one back up. And then this little washer thing is on the bottom of that ring right there. We'll put that back on. Make sure the washer is there underneath it. Now we can screw this piece in. The wider part, you can see the threads on the bottom. The wider part with the slots in it are up. So we'll put that down. We'll screw that in. And at this point, that's done. All we have to do is put the handle back on. That should be off. That should be on. Before we screw the handle down, we're going to turn the water back on. Going to make sure there's no leaks here. And then we can put the screw in. And we can replace the little cap on the top. And the cartridge installation is complete. So let's turn the water on and no more leak. Everything looks good. We can tighten up the screw. Replace the little cap, it just plugs into the top. We can repeat the same process for the cold valve, and then we'll be finished.